Hi, I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
Today is a very special episode because for I think the very first time for a regular episode, we are recording together in person, side by side. Super exciting.
Yes, super exciting. I don't remember what the last episode we did for this was. I think it was a Patreon, and then we released it to the public. Or was it only Patreon?
I want to say it was only Patreon. I don't know if we did a regular episode or just the video episode.
That's true.
I think
I don't remember either.
Yeah. But this is our first, for the public, everyone together, recording in person. Bear with us with any technology issues because editing is different when you are together sharing one mic. So we apologize for any extra background noise that we can't cut out, and hopefully we will try to, figure that out. But yeah, so here we are together in person. It is Thanksgiving week as you are hearing this. So happy Thanksgiving, happy whatever winter holidays you celebrate this season. Hopefully you have good food and family and friends and all that fun stuff for this holiday season.
Yeah, as always, every Thanksgiving, please tell me your favorite Thanksgiving meal and what your favorite dish is and what you do for Thanksgiving.
Always. Always want to know.
I will be in Florida at the time you hear this, and I have no idea how to dress for Florida because it's Florida, but it's November. Mm-hmm. Does that mean it's cold, or does that mean it's hot, or does that mean it's like fall?
I would guess fall, but I don't live in Florida, so I don't know. I mean, either. I would think like a nice mild, like maybe a light sweater. Like I don't think you need like a jacket, but I also don't think it's like a bathing suit weather.
Yeah, that's the tough one.
Yeah.
We'll see. I guess I'll just pack for all seasons. Layers, layers, layers.
Or you could be like me and come to Tennessee when it's going to be 70 degrees and pack for 70-degree weather and then decide to stay another week and then it drops to 40 degrees and you have no clothes. So you're borrowing clothes from people for yourself and your child so everyone can be warm. So that's where I'm at with my life right now.
It dropped quick.
Yeah. It was literally 70 every day last week and now it's down in the 20s at night. And it's really cold and I wasn't really prepared for that. We didn't have a whole lot of fall weather before it just zoop like it always does.
Yeah. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. But now also in 2 days, everyone can get off my back about it being Christmas because everyone's after Thanksgiving is Christmas. So Merry Christmas.
Still just skipping right over Thanksgiving like Courtney does. But you celebrate Thanksgiving on the day of. Christmas is a season.
I believe it deserves its day. Maybe a day or two. Have a Friendsgiving. Have a few family get-togethers. Eat your food. But I'm not going to put up Thanksgiving decorations. I'm not going to have a turkey outside. Yeah. You better have a Santa hat on if he's going to be out there.
I feel like Thanksgiving is like the fall season. So, you have your fall decorations. Goes into Thanksgiving. It's still fall, still Thanksgiving. And then it's Christmas.
Yeah.
But
here we have Halloween and Christmas in the decoration boxes in my garage. And currently the ghost is still outside.
Yes, it is.
Because every day I've been like, I'm putting Grinch out, I'm putting Ghost up, and I still haven't. So.
I think you just need to put a Santa hat on the ghost.
Ooh, great idea.
Call it a day.
Call it a day.
Anyway, now that we have talked to you about holidays and all that fun stuff, we do have some updates before we get into today's episode. So Darrell Brooks Jr. was found guilty of killing 6 people and injuring more than 60 others in the Waukesha Christmas parade. So that did happen.
His trial was wild. Did you see some of the highlights?
I did not.
He was trying to represent himself, but was also just literally just saying things that made absolutely no sense, basically.
I feel like that's what always happens when you try to represent yourself and you have no legal background. You just spew nonsense.
Yeah, they said it was just an absolute shit show.
Yeah, I believe that.
He'll be sentenced soon, I'm sure for a very, very long time.
Yes, but thankfully he was found guilty, so that is a positive.
Yeah, and just recently there was a shooting at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville. So the suspect was Christopher Darnell Jones Jr. He was a former football player, and he did come and he did kill 3 people and wound 2 others. So the 3 people who were killed, they were also all football players, was Devin Chandler, Lavelle Davis Jr., and Deshaun Perry. And the 2 injured was Michael Hollins, and then there was another who they have not released their name. I don't know if they just don't want their name released or anything like that. Thankfully, Christopher Darnell Jones Jr. was found and arrested. I was seeing like some TikToks of like people at UVA being like, we're still under lockdown. Like the whole time we've been searching for him, like they've been searching for him, like we've been under lockdown. It was
like a couple of days, like it wasn't like immediately,
Which must just be terrifying. Yeah. And another shooting on a campus of a school. It never ends. And now these families don't have their loved ones for the upcoming holidays. And it's the whole campus is going to feel the effects of this. Like, I can't imagine there being a shooting on my campus and then being like, okay, let's keep going back to class.
Right? Like how do you, especially it's like time for finals and it's time for all of these like major like academic things happening, and how are you supposed to focus on any of that when this is what's happening to your friends, your classmates? Yeah. It's not great, this world we live in.
Nope.
So today's episode was a recommendation from Kelly, so thank you, Kelly. It has been on our queue for quite a while, so to make sure that we did it during the week of Thanksgiving. So we are very proud of ourselves for remembering, because you got to plan this a little bit ahead of time, and we usually don't think about it until the week of. So I'm glad we got this one. Thank you for the suggestion, Kelly. So our sources for this episode were an episode of Homicide for the Holidays, The Last Thanksgiving, which was season 4, episode 1, a WVLT article, All That's Interesting, Knox News, The Crime Wire, Oxygen, and findagrave.com. So what started as a lovely family Thanksgiving in the Guy home before they retired would soon end with their bodies being found decomposing in their home 4 days later. So what happened to Joel and Lisa Guy that led to this being their Thanksgiving? So Joel Guy Sr. was born on February 10th, 1955 in...
I think it's Surgoinsville.
Wow, I would not have said that. Okay.
I think.
In Surgoinsville, Tennessee. He had a career in civil engineering, and he had 3 daughters from a marriage that had ended, and they were named Angela, Michelle, and Shandis. So Michelle and Angela were twins. So Joel married Lisa Mediri in 1985, and Lisa was born on August 8th, 1961. And they were both described as this like fun-loving couple and just like very much in love with each other. And the family was so excited when Joel Michael was born on March 13th, 1988, and they just felt that he had like completed their family. So he now has these 3 daughters from a previous marriage, and they now have this son together, and just felt like everything was complete now. So in 2016, Joel Sr. was fired from his engineering job, and Lisa was earning a small salary at a human resources job for another engineering firm, and they had been like about ready to retire. At this time, Joel Sr. was 61, Lisa was 55. They had been married for 31 years, and in 2016, they had 6 grandchildren. So it made sense that they were like at that age, ready to retire. So Joel Sr. and Lisa were going to sell their house in Knoxville and move to Surgoinsville, to the house that Joe Sr.'s mother owned. So for Thanksgiving in 2016, they were just going to have this one last big Thanksgiving dinner with all of their kids at their house. They were moving 2 weeks later. So they're like, okay, we're going to have our last, Thanksgiving here, and then we're going to have our Christmas get together at our new house. And the Thanksgiving dinner on November 24th did go well. But once Lisa Guy failed to show up for work on Monday, November 28th, her boss called the police. Her work had actually been planning on throwing a retirement party for her, so they're like, okay, this is very unusual that she would not show up, especially today. So an officer stopped by and knocked on the door, but there was no response. So he called into dispatch and went about his daily duties, and another hour passed, and Lisa still had not shown up for work or reached out to her coworkers. So at this point, they're like, okay, this might be a little more than just a generic welfare check, it's getting, more concerning. So her supervisor did now call a second time as well. So Detective Jeremy McCord of the Knox County Sheriff's Office went over to the house and called in a few more officers for backup. So they spoke with neighbors, but the neighbors there only knew that they were there for Thanksgiving, but not much else. They're like, yeah, they were here, but I don't really know anything since then. And there were cars in the driveway, and they were both registered to Joel and Lisa Guy. So they're like, okay, it seems like they're probably home, something's going on. Started looking more closely at the house, and they put their face up to the window. They saw some groceries laying in the foyer, and they could see stuff like sandwich meat and freezer items, obviously something that you wouldn't just leave laying there. It's not like you came in and you're like, oh, I'll take care of that later. You would put that away. So one of the vehicles was unlocked and there was a garage door opener inside. So they were like coming in, announcing themselves, but they got no response, and they did hear the faint howl of a dog. So the garage door to the house was unlocked, and when they opened it, this like intense heat hit them. They realized that the stove was on. And there were wallets and cell phones on the table, again indicating that they were home. And there are also many guns laid out on the dining room table. So not
great.
Yeah, not looking good here.
This is also your just little PSA. Always make sure your garage door or your cars are locked, because
Yes.
Like somebody could easily open your car door, open your garage door, and get into your house so easily.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I won't even like leave a garage opener in the car that's outside, because somebody could break into it. But also lock the door that goes from the garage to your house too.
Yes.
Like make sure those are always locked, like just as a preventative measure.
It makes it very easy to get into your home.
Yeah.
So as the police went upstairs, they noticed this like strange chemical odor, and it's just like getting worse, and it's now like overbearing. So the further they go up, they start to see blood. So Jeremy McCord is like, okay, clearly we have a crime scene now. Like there's something more sinister going on here. And once they got to the last room, they did notice like a large amount of blood in the corner. And then they saw 2 human hands lying on the floor. The fingers were in like an upright position, almost like a praying position, like clearly very deliberately staged. And in the main bedroom, Detective McCord said it was just like a scene out of a movie. There were gallons of food-grade peroxide, timers, plastic on the ground. There was also muriatic acid, various supplies like vice grips, extension cords, just all kinds of like bizarre things. So he went through the bedroom and got to the main bathroom, which was covered in plastic sheeting, and there were 2 blue tubs with some kind of like chemical concoction that they believed to be drain cleaner, hydrogen peroxide, and some kind of bleach. And there were human remains decomposing inside. And it gets worse. Then investigators found Lisa's head boiling in a stock pot on the stove. So the detective said, "I'll never get those smells out of my head or my dreams. Like, obviously this is just absolutely horrific. Like, you cannot recover from this."
And it just keeps getting worse. Like, you're like, I smell bad things, and now I see hands on the floor, and there's like a head on the stove. Like, horrific.
Yeah. So they eventually cleared the room with the dog and confirmed that there was no one in there. So they did take the dog, Jake, to the neighbor's house, and he eventually went to Young Williams Animal Center. So at this point, they believe it is likely that the remains are that of Joel Sr. and Lisa. So they start canvassing the neighborhood, but no one really knew like a lot, but they were able to track down Michelle. Remember, this is Joel's daughter from his first marriage. So she lived in Knoxville, and they asked her to meet them off-site, obviously. And they had to tell her that they believed that her father and stepmother were dead. She said that she had last seen them on Thanksgiving. She said she came over with her kids and her boyfriend, and that her half-brother, Joel Jr., was in from Baton Rouge. So they continue processing the scene, and then they finally find a lead. So all the thermostats were up to 90 degrees, and like space heaters were on all over the house. Remember, the oven had been on. The walls are covered in blood. The floors had like blood-covered clothing on them that had been cut. And from the blood spatter, it really looked like this was an attack. Clearly. There was like exercise equipment overturned, knife marks on the futon, and in the bathroom they found receipts which were dated after the holiday. So there was a Walmart receipt that had a purchase of rubbing alcohol, peroxide, and some other items, including potato salad. So
it's like you're buying all this stuff, like clearly like what you're about to do, and then you're like, gotta get that Walmart potato salad.
Yeah, like I'll just have a little snack while I'm at it. I don't.
Ugh.
No. So it was from the 26th at around 3 p.m. And there were also the groceries at the front door that we mentioned, and the receipt for those were from the 26th, but around 12 p.m. So detectives went to Walmart to pull the footage, and at 12 p.m. you could see Lisa purchasing the items that they found at the house, and you can also see her leaving. So investigators believe she was attacked like when she came home from Walmart. They think she set the groceries down, and at that point was lured upstairs to where she was murdered at the top of the stairs, and they believe that Joel Sr. was likely murdered in the exercise room on the second floor. So within 24 hours, Joel Guy Sr. was identified from fingerprints from the hands found in the bonus room, and they eventually also identified Lisa from DNA from her toothbrush. So police now are very concerned about, like, who could have done this? Like, is this some, like, crazed killer on the loose? Like, do we need to warn the public? What is happening? Obviously, the preparation for this body dismemberment, decomposition, disposal was very advanced. Like, this is not, like, a spur-of-the-moment thing. Like, this was very planned, deliberate, torturous, extensive. So, like, is this a murder for hire? Like, what is happening? So with the second receipt, they continue to look through the Walmart security tapes, and they see Joel Michael at the Walmart. So his identity had been confirmed through Michelle earlier when she spoke to them about, like, who had been around during Thanksgiving. So they were really shocked because at that point he was supposed to have been back in Baton Rouge. So he rang up the items and paid cash, and they could see possible injuries on his hands, and he had also bought Band-Aids and other items that would, like, help clean a wound. So they're like, this is interesting here.
So now they have a person of interest. They're like, okay, we think this is pretty, it's kind of odd. But they definitely need some more information on him. So they interviewed Michelle again. And she said after Thanksgiving, everyone left and went their own way. She said Joel Michael went back to Baton Rouge, but she did not know, like, when he left. So Michelle said it was mostly normal, but it was kind of different because Joel Michael was there. Michelle did say she had some reservations about Joel Michael. She said it's very odd for him to behave so socially at Thanksgiving. Like, I guess he didn't really like to hang out with his family. Her kids had, like, rarely been in contact with him. He was a recluse, a loner, like, didn't want anything to do with his family, basically. Yeah. And now suddenly at Thanksgiving, he's social. He's acting like a loving uncle. Just very different behavior. So now they're like, okay, Joel Michael, you're our prime suspect. Yeah. Like, you're number one on this case at the moment. So a little information about Joel Michael. So he had spent most of his youth in a boarding school, which he insisted on going to. So it's not like you usually hear where the parents, like, send your kid away to a boarding school. He was like, I want to go to a boarding school.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And he had graduated from Louisiana School for Math, Science, and the Arts in 2006 and spent a semester at George Washington University, but dropped out. And so then he decided to go to Louisiana State University, or LSU, to study plastic surgery, but he withdrew in 2015. So keeps trying school and keeps just giving up, basically.
Yeah.
So he did continue living in Baton Rouge in an apartment his parents paid for. He spent 9 years in colleges without graduating, and this was all funded by his parents. And by the time he was 28, he still didn't have a job. So the whole time, his parents are just paying for everything. Mm-hmm. So when Joel Sr. and Lisa are like, hey, we're going to retire, but we can't fund your lifestyle anymore. Like, if we're just living off of, like, the money we've set aside for retirement, we can't keep paying for your, apartments and your lifestyle. Like, you got to go get a job. You're 28 years old at this point.
Yeah, like, we're now funding our lifestyle based on what we've saved up with nothing more coming in, so we can't also fund you. That's not how this works.
And imagine how much more money they'd probably had if he was, like,
right,
normal and, like, you can help him through college, and then after that, like, you kind of get your own job and you usually pay your own rent, and, like, you can help some after that, but all of it, like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So at the same time they're learning, like, about him and him being at Walmart and his odd behavior at Thanksgiving, the Forensic Center is starting to catalog the evidence that had been collected. So they did find a backpack in the guest room. So they opened the backpack and found, like, a manifesto and a notebook that basically detailed the entire murder. So there were notes about what was needed to go through with this plan. There were notes of various chemicals needed to accelerate decomposition and notes about raising the temperature to speed up decomposition of fingerprints. It was a very detailed, like, step-by-step book. It's like just laying it all out.
Yeah.
Like, why are you writing that down?
That's not very intelligent.
No. Also in this backpack, there were several medical books that belonged to and were signed in by Joel Michael. Like, you know how you put, like, this book belongs to Joel Michael. All of them said it. So they're like,
pretty sure this was yours.
2 and 2 make 4. So they also believed the notebook was likely Joel Michael's because it did also obtain a syllabus from one of the classes that he was planning on taking that fall. Mm-hmm. So... and the book also detailed all of Joel Sr. and Lisa's assets, which obviously is going to need to be someone who knows them or is close to them. And it detailed how much Joel Michael would inherit with their passing. Obviously, this is showing premeditation.
Yeah, I don't think most people just kind of have that written down. Like, you don't really think it through and spell it out.
I don't even know what my parents... Like, I don't even know what I would inherit from them.
Like, what even are your assets? What do I get? I don't even know. Yeah.
And he'd also left his laptop, the dog in the bedroom, and many things just around all over the place. So they're like, this almost looks like he was in the middle of this crime scene and then just left. Yeah. But they aren't really sure why. So detectives went to track down Joel Michael to interview him. And they did find a cell phone number and his home address. And they could tell by plate readers that he'd left Sunday night, the 27th. So his license plate was picked up in a few states on his way, like, back to Baton Rouge. And I'm like, where are those little scanners at? Because it was, like, on the interstate, and they could, like, scan them almost.
Wow. Interesting.
So I'm curious about how much the police are watching us.
I did not know that was a thing, so.
I didn't either, but, like, when they did it, they showed, like,
yeah,
the interstate. So I'm assuming it was the interstate.
Interesting.
Yeah. So local Baton Rouge homicide detectives were contacted, and they started surveillance on Joel Michael. So Knoxville detectives were also on their way to Baton Rouge, and they had received a phone call that on Monday, the 28th, he'd actually purchased a firearm from an Academy Sports close to where he lives. And they said he was also, like, still bleeding from his wounds at the time, and there was blood on his paperwork that he'd filled out to purchase a firearm.
Wow.
How can you come in bloody and still purchase that firearm?
The gun laws in this country, that, like, that's not a red flag when someone's trying to purchase a firearm.
I know, you're covered in blood and there's blood over your paperwork.
Oh my God.
So this is pretty concerning to investigators because when Joel Michael had detailed the assets, he'd also realized he'd get a lot more if he took out one of his siblings. So now with, like, other lives in danger, they called Baton Rouge investigators and they're like, apprehend him just immediately because, like, we don't need him to, like, come back up here, kill someone else because he's just trying to get more assets.
Yeah, like, clearly his sisters are in danger at this point too, if that's his thought process.
So they were about 45 minutes away when they called and said they had arrested him while he was walking out of his apartment to his car. And Joel Michael did refuse to talk to the detectives. He didn't ask why he was there or talk about his parents. And Detective McCord just said he acted very cold. And they did photograph him, and especially the injuries to his hands. And they had obtained search warrants, so they just went to his apartment to search the resident. And they found basically the same scene they'd found at Joel Sr. and Lisa's house, just, like, minus the human remains.
Oh.
Yeah, so he had a plastic tub in his shower with the same chemical concoction with a dog bone in it, almost like he was trying to test out, like, how effective is this?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
They also found the receipts for the knives they had found in Knoxville. So again, he's just leaving, like, a breadcrumb trail.
Who keeps all of these receipts? Like, normal people don't keep that many receipts, do you? And especially if you're trying to, like, I mean, I guess he's clearly not trying to cover up a murder, but if you just committed a murder, why would you leave all of these receipts around?
I know. Who keeps receipts? Like,
I don't know.
And this wasn't that long ago, so it's just like, why? Why wouldn't you throw that out on your way out the store? Just throw it away.
I don't need this.
So through surveillance footage, they had discovered that he'd been going around and buying the weapons and supplies starting at 18 days before the murder. Again, premeditation. And Michelle confirmed that he had been made aware a few months before Thanksgiving that his parents were going to cut him off. So, I mean, we have a motive. Like, cut and dry, basically. So on September 28th, 2020, the trial for Joel Guy began. And I just have a bone to pick with Joel Guy Jr. Is that obviously this is during the pandemic and he only was wearing a face shield in trial.
I remember that.
And it just bugs me. Sir, wear your mask.
Like, good God.
You gotta know, it goes out underneath. That's not...
It doesn't do anything.
Anyway, I mean, I have a lot of bones to pick with Joel Guy Jr., but that one,
Courtney's
especially.
Like, this isn't the most important, but I just need to throw it in there.
It's a side note, because we already hate him. Let's hate him a little more.
Yeah, exactly.
So through evidence, prosecution presented what they believed happened. They think on November 26th, Joel Michael walked upstairs and stabbed his father to death with a knife in the exercise room. Joel Sr. was likely in, like, a vulnerable position, and the knife pierced his lungs, liver, and kidneys and broke several ribs. And he'd been stabbed at least 42 times.
Oh my God.
And he had several defensive wounds. So Very, very violent. Joel Michael then cut Joel Sr.'s hands off at the wrist and severed his arms at the shoulder blades. He then severed his legs at the hip with a saw and severed his right foot at the ankle and left it in the exercise room. And he cut off all his clothing with a pair of scissors. So we talked about how there was like a bunch of like clothes, like bloody clothes, just like cut off. Like he cut off all their clothes.
Yeah.
So Lisa had been out and brought her groceries in, and she was lured upstairs at some point, and she'd been stabbed 31 times. She'd been stabbed with such force that 7 of her ribs had been severed. Severed. Like, your ribs...
That is horrific.
They're like bones.
They are indeed
bones. They are bones, but like... I don't know. Like that much force that 7 of them are broken. It's like... That's your mom. So, Lisa was dismembered at her elbows and her knees, and her head was, as we said earlier, placed in a pot on the stove, and then Joel Michael put the rest of the remains in blue tubs. So, the notebook was obviously a large piece of evidence in the trial. He had also set up an automated text from his mother to try and prove that she was alive when he was back in Baton Rouge. So, he was, like, trying to set it up where, like, she was texting him like a few days later, like obviously it couldn't have been me.
Yeah.
And the notebook also detailed about the life insurance policy that would be his, like with both of them gone. He said $500,000 would be all mine. With his missing/dead, I get the whole thing. So Joel Michael was caught several times through the trial, smiling and laughing, and it was almost like he was proud. And detectives believe like he really thought he was never going to be caught. Like he thought he was just smarter than everybody, I guess, and that he wasn't gonna get caught for this when you left a trail of like everything.
When you're literally the dumbest criminal. Like, what are you even
You
talking
left
about?
everything.
Yeah.
Like, so on October 2nd, 2020, Joel Michael was found guilty of 2 counts of premeditated first-degree murder, 3 counts of felony murder, and 2 counts of abuse of a corpse. I don't really know why the 3 counts of felony murder. I don't really know. I don't really know the law that well.
Yeah.
But I guess they were just anything that stuck, they were going to throw it. So 6 days after he was found guilty, on October 8th, Joel Michael wrote a letter about his fantasies of gouging out the eyes of another inmate. So in his letter, he outlined his plans to gouge another inmate's eyes out using his hands. The letter said, given that in fantasies it is essential that I used my fingers, a no sharps restriction will accomplish nothing in deterring their actualized.
The fuck, man? What?
Yeah.
Ugh.
He later went on in the letter to say, this was a bad idea. Please stop me from acting on these fantasies. So I don't know if this is like a mental health issue here or what is happening. He also says he doesn't want to do it and he doesn't want like the man to be blind. He says he's psychologically unstable. Prosecution presented this in the sentencing phase for the request of life imprisonment because they're just like, he's not even been sentenced yet and he's talking about gouging someone else's eyes out.
Yeah. Like,
he's
clearly this is an issue.
This is a big deal. And he will serve 2 life sentences consecutively. And he will also serve 4 more years with the abuse of a corpse charges. So he won't be getting out of prison since in total the sentence equals more than 100 years. So Joel Sr. and Lisa were buried together. In their obituary, the family had actually asked people in lieu of flowers to donate to Young Williams Animal Shelter because they did take great care of Jake until a family member could pick him up. Young Williams is where both of my cats come from. So if you feel inclined to make a donation in the Guy family name, please do so because they do good work and both of my little babies are from there. So.
Yes. And I think we can put a link in our Instagram story for
this
episode. So
okay,
we'll do
yeah.
that.
I'm going to do that. I'll make a note of it to myself. So that is the case of just the horrific murder of Joel and Lisa Guy.
Like, this one is just so over the top. Like, how do you do that to your own parents? Literally just for money. Like, that is your whole motive. I mean, obviously you have other things going on in your brain because normal people don't do this kind of thing, but you were doing this to get your inheritance. Like,
and you also just thought you weren't going to get caught, which just makes no sense to me. I'm like, and I think they said, like, they think he just left in the middle of the crime scene because he wasn't expecting to get so injured also. Like, I guess he wasn't thinking, like, you know, a lot of times, like, when you stab people, like, with the blood, like, you stab yourself. So a lot of them are like, I think maybe he didn't realize, like, he was going to get so injured.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, you just left everything. And
especially with, like, the force that he did it. Like, yeah, I said if it's, like, the blood slipping on your hand and then, like, with the amount of force that it's, like, that's going to end up hurting yourself, too. And, yeah, maybe he just didn't think about that. And
he clearly didn't think about anything.
Yeah.
Because
with all of his damn receipts and...
You could have just gotten a job.
Yeah.
Just gotten a job. Like...
It's not that difficult.
It's not that hard. It sucks, but that's part of being, you know, an adult.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other options if you don't want to work. You could just, I don't know.
But you don't have to kill your parents.
But you don't have to kill your parents. I mean, just might not have a house. I don't know what to tell you.
There's better options out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're welcome for this Thanksgiving-themed episode. Hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your families after...
You know what I also just realized, too? Joel Guy has never had a job and will never have a job because now he's in jail.
Yeah, that is
so
a good
he
point.
Never had to go and work a Black Friday.
Yeah.
He never had to go work public service.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone just hate him a little bit more for that.
Yeah.
Because now he just, I'm sure jail's not pleasant or prison's not pleasant, but
yeah,
he might have a job in there, but you know,
it's not the same.
It's just ridiculous.
Anyway, so now that horror story is over, you guys are welcome for that. Courtney, what is your perk of the week?
So my perk of the week is a little bit about why this audio quality on this episode is so bad, and that's because Jacqueline is in town and she ended up staying an extra week, and so I selfishly get more time with her.
Wonderful.
And it's been so fun. We had a little triple date, and I made her stay out really late and sing karaoke. So that was fun, and we got to dance in person together after all the, you know, all of 2020 of FaceTime workouts together.
Yes.
We finally got to do it at the studio in person, which is just so fun. So that's my perk of the week is and we had a Friendsgiving, so I got to have like all my favorite people in like one place. Like it was just, it was so, I mean, there were people missing. Some of my favorite people were missing. Ashton and Katie, don't come for me.
I know, like the people who were not there are going to write it and be like, Courtney, I was not
present. It's just Ashton and Katie. And Ashton will listen to this 3 months later. So it's fine.
Ashton will listen to this next Thanksgiving.
But that is my perk of the week because it's been so fun. But yeah, Jacqueline, what is your perk of the week?
Yeah, obviously my perk of the week is very similar, that we've been in town, that we've gotten to, you know, see family and friends, and specifically, because I don't want to have the exact same perk of the week as Courtney, so I'm going to say that my specific perk of the week is just remote work and the fact that this new world exists where you can work wherever, and I can say, oh, we're just going to stay another extra week and spend time with our families because we can work from my aunt's house, from the library, from, you know,
wherever.
I don't think the library would like that because our child is with us, so they probably would not appreciate.
You would get a lot of shh.
Yes. But yeah, that is my specific perk of the week, is that this world of remote work allows us to be able to see family and spend more time with family and change our plans and not have to like go back because we have to be in an office, because I can just open up my computer the next morning and we're there, we're good to go. So yeah, that is my perk of the week. Very exciting getting to record this podcast together in person for the first time. Hopefully if we have to do this again, we will figure out the audio quality a little bit more. If you guys are podcasters, let us know how you do this in person. How does this work?
Do you have to buy one of those fancy machines, and how much does it cost?
Yes.
And what's the, what is it called when you're trying to figure out how something works?
Google?
No. Like, how long did it take you to figure out, what's the learning curve?
Learning curve. There we go.
What's the learning curve on it? Like, is it really, like, do you have to play around with it a lot?
Also, I'm sure you guys have always noticed that I'm the loud one, and so Courtney wanted me to record in the bathroom while she sits in here next to the microphone. So if I'm so much louder than Courtney, I apologize, because recording in person, we don't really know how to adjust the volume of one person, which we have to do sometimes for me, and just turn me way down. So, you know.
I mean, right now, like, the levels don't look too crazy, but sometimes these levels are deceiving.
That is true. That is true. So we'll see. But yeah, if you are podcasters, please let us know how your in-person podcasting works. You can do so on Instagram at Caffeinated Crimes Pod, on Twitter at Caff Crimes Pod, that's CAFF Crimes Pod. We are on Facebook at Caffeinated Crimes Podcast, or you can email us at caffeinatedcrimespod@gmail.com.
And if you feel so inclined to throw some money our way, we have a very special bonus coming on Thursday because we are taking next week off.
Yes.
I think we maybe forgot to say that part.
I just thought about that too, so
I'm
glad you threw that in.
So we do have a very, very special bonus coming on Thursday. I'm not going to give too much away because I want to pique your interest here. There may be a very special guest on there. So
is it me?
Yes.
Am I special? Okay.
Yeah. It's just the two of us again.
It's our other personalities. We just wear wigs and pretend to be someone else.
Yes, exactly. And you can't see it because it's an audio medium. So we sound exactly the same.
It's sounding better and better the more we plan.
But we are taking next week off just to give ourselves a little bit of a break because it is slow season. It's the holiday season. People get behind on their podcasts. We're going to take a week off just to give ourselves a little bit of breathing room.
Yes.
But if you're like, I just can't not have a Tuesday without my caffeinated crimes, sign up for Patreon. We have, how many is it now? Like 28 bonuses? I don't know.
Something like that.
It's a lot of bonuses.
More than 20.
Definitely
Probably more than 25. I don't know.
Definitely so. And you know, every month I make the Instagram story for it, and every time I have to look. Every time I have to look. But do so on patreon.com/caffeinatedcrimes so you can get your Tuesday episode and so many more episodes there. And we have a bunch of other good perks. So just go check it out. It's detailed all there. You'll figure it all out. And please give us 5 stars on Apple and on Spotify. But in the meantime, go have a cup of coffee.
And don't commit a crime.